etc. We would now like to start the Innovative City Forum Art and Science session. We will be talking about the human augmentation and the designed world of symbiosis. First of all, I would like to invite the four speakers for this session. First of all, Dr. Joichi Ito, Director of MIT Media Lab, Mr. Fumio Nanjo, Director of Mori Art Museum, Mr. Hiroaki Kitano, President and CEO of Sony Computer Science Laboratories, and Ms. Chiaki Hayashi, co-founder of Loftwork. Please come onto the stage.
Now floor is yours. Well, originally I expected each one of you to speak individually, separately. However, we want to make this session more interactive. So I'd like to serve as the moderator and what we would like to talk about. So I'd like to ask questions to three the gentlemen here. So first of all, the Nanjo-san, Mr. Nanjo. Well, what is the topic that you have in your mind, and what kind of the themes would you like to propose for this afternoon session? Looking at the brochure, well, the page 6 and 7 has the outlines the idea of the afternoon session. So we four of us will conduct this the opening part, and then starting from the 14, 15, we are going to have breakout sessions, and the augmentation is one theme, and another theme is symbiosis. So we will be breaking into two different sessions, and each of the session will be broken further into smaller groups. So the people will be remaining here, and these sessions are divided into 2 time periods. So as for the augmentation, first of all, the first session is the augmented body session, and from the 4 o'clock until 5:20, the discussion topic is augmented sensibility. Now when it comes to the symbiosis, the part 1 is the world of symbiosis from cells to the universe, and the second part is titled Symbiotic Cities. And presenters? Well, there will be 2 or 3 presenters for each session, and first of all, they will be presenting their, making their presentations, and then the other discussants, participants, and speakers will have further discussion. And then we will also invite people in the audience to participate in the discussion session as well. So we hope to have an active, interactive session. That is my expectation. So talking about the augmentation, basically, well, the human beings are trying to augment ourselves as part of the nature. In order to survive, probably that is necessary. Now, in modern times, we have technologies. Technologies are developing. So when it comes to augmentation of the body, well, the robots may be one way to augmentation, or biotechnology to logically modify human body. And there may be mention about the outer space, and the robot may be more suitable for the outer space exploration, but it is not fun. Well, the human beings should also be there in the space exploration. But is it possible, because the oxygen level is much lower? So maybe we can modify our body so that we will be fit to the outer space environment. So the augmentation, well, what kind of technologies can be explored? So that is one viewpoint. Now, turning to symbiotic discussion, science and technology. Well, first of all, they were developed in the Western world, but Aristotle Well, as the origin, first of all, the taxonomy or the classification was the starting point. So this belongs to here, or the another thing belongs to there. These two are different. So the classification, the taxonomy. Well, what wonders me is the classification of a dog. There are so many variety, but they all belong to one species called a dog. But that was the starting point of the science and technology. However, is the classification sufficient? Because recently we came to know that there are many things we are not able to solve based upon the traditional classification. Some things are intertwined and in a very complex manner, and if we are not able to design the system that enables such understanding, then the how can we work towards the ecosystem to enable that? So there are a couple of the issues and challenges that we have to take up, and so that is the basic background as to why we have these two sessions. Well, so Nanjo-san, you mentioned that you don't understand the classification of a dog. How about human beings? We are very diverse. Yes, indeed. I sometimes wonder if this particular person is truly a human being or not. But the humans may be less diverse than dogs, I believe.
そうですね。
Nanjo-san has talked about the wide context. Next, 17 speakers will appear, and we will try to have interactive sessions to follow. Now, from Joy, can you follow up to Nanjo-san's overall framework? How technology can be used to add design perspectives? What are the connectivity in that regard? What is the objective of these sessions? I was looking at Google Translate just now. Self-adaptive complex system is mentioned, and it seems that the cities, the body, and the earth is such a system. If you look at the genes of humans, if you change one gene, we don't know what's going to happen because it's so intricate and intricately connected with some people are saying that if you have more overlap in the brain tissue, then it will make you smarter. And when we come out of the womb, it is the brain is set, but by increasing the folds in the brain, it seems smarter. But for autistic people, they often have troubles in terms of the lung as well as the intestines, because they have more folds in these organs. So perhaps with the there's a gene for fold, and that will have an impact on the brain as well as the intestine as well as the lungs. So what I'm trying to say is that if you change one thing, it will have repercussions to others. It's not easy to fix by one focus. It's the same for environmental issues as well. Art, city, locations can be created, but that is not going to suffice. Because art could be generated in an isolated area. So you can't engineer this complex system. It's very difficult to realize. We have been talking about the city environment, also augmentation. So product design or engineering and design concept will not suffice. We have been discussing design, but if I may elaborate, aesthetic design was the major focus, but then product design developed, such as a mouse and system design was developed as well. In our university, there are more than 100 courses in design, and but basically it's a business and engineering. And there is a fusion between engineering and business. But as mentioned in the first part, Danielle talked about the society. but he also talked about engineering as well in easy to understand manner. Roche-san is an artist, a true to form artist. So his human aspects were emphasized. So in terms of design, there is the engineering aspect, and there is also the artistic, humanistic, fuzzy, complex factors must be combined together to create something new. And we need different ideas to enable this. It's not just changing the genes. And when you're nurturing a child, you're not just looking at rules, but there is a view of the parent, and based on that, children are brought up. So I think in that regard, ethics is necessary. And but if you segment ethics in detail, then, and if you analyze too much, that will not be good and parenting as well. So you have to be, I think, capable people can raise capable children, in my view. There are artists as well as designers and engineers involved in the afternoon sessions. So what they have to do is to look at the complex system, and make sure that science and technologies will come together to create an environment which makes people happy. So new design will be required. The conventional design was too much focused on engineering. So you have to teach design to the engineers and engineer to the artists. And I think that will be an important focus going forward.
北野さんは
北野さん Well, we know that if we go too detailed, I cannot go right. However, we want to analyze like big data and AI, and we have to be meticulous and detailed. So that is the idea prevailing. But Kitano-san, you have been looking at the very complex systems as well as the 0 or 1, the very simplified the world. So are there any additional comments you'd like to make? Yes, augmentation and symbiosis, these two topics of the sessions. We had a lot of preparations and discussion in advance. So we decided to change this at one time. For example, looking at the living organisms, living creatures, the genome, and there are certain areas that are stable and that evolves and changes. But it doesn't change so quickly. And then, the area that modify the genes much more quickly. And on top of that, we have nervous system and the cultures. So there are different layers. As we go towards the top layers, the more multiple flexible systems. So the layers are there at the top. So core is maintained, but the other upper areas can easily adapt to the environment. So from a longer point of view, for genome level, between the living and the species, the horizontal gene transfer, in other words, genes can be transferred on a horizontal manner. So by taking in the genes from the different species, to change and modify ourselves, that is happening. And when the cell is born, the current, the core, the endosymbiosis, that is what we're talking about, and the eukaryotic cell that is generated, and the microbioflora in the intestine. Without it, we are not able to digest anything. And that symbiosis, and by taking in that functionality, we can enhance our functions. And then at the top, we have brains and we have information technology, and by combining ourselves with information systems, we are already part of the information society, because all of you are they're using their smartphones. So you are you are already in the symbiotic relationship with smartphones today. So these are the layers we are looking at. And symbiosis and augmentation, we are talking about them as if they are separate matters. However, from the evolutionary point of view, well, the augmentation has been promoted by a symbiotic approach. So technology and the human augmentation, that is what we have to do, and we need to do that from a perspective as well as the technological viewpoint. So I hope to have discussion on that point. Having said that, symbiosis, and that's one of the frontier, and another area from cells to the universe. From that scale of the analysis, well, they are talking about the universe. It's really the big topic, and it is the challenge for the moderator. Actually, I have to do that. I have to moderate that session, and so I'm wondering what I should do during that session involving the universe and then cities. Talking about city. Real estate point of view, well, the land remains unchanged. It doesn't disappear usually, so it is long term. But if you build a building on top of that, then it's going the time span will be about tens of years or hundreds of years. Just like genome, it's more long term. However, tenants may change and the content of the building may change. It is changing much more quickly. And the lower layer, biology, the structure of the protein, it is really like physics. Buildings and the city, well, the structure, the calculation, that is physics. However, at the top layer, that is system design, or the design aspect, more holistic type approach is needed. And on top of that, we have cultural context and civilization. So these layers can merge with that point of view. So that is the structure that I have in my mind for this session. Well, for science session, it is more fundamental aspect. However, we are not able to cover the top layers if we stick too much upon the science. So the art and science and the systems, well, these are the layers at the top which can be merged. So with those layers in mind, we hope to enjoy today's session, and that's going to be more fruitful. And well, so the big picture, that's what I'd like to see. However, well, it is the parallel session, actually. We want to make them into the serial session. And this is where I have a regret, because we are not able to attend all the sessions at the same time. So we have to work hard during the closing session. So there are many logics and the reasons behind this structure. But the speakers, we have a lot of interesting speakers. So sessions will be really interesting, I'm sure. But the speakers will be happy with among themselves, and so that's that may happen. But I understand that we have a lot of wonderful speakers today. Thank you very much.
私も一緒にこの
Now, I was also involved in the planning of this session. Science and technology's advancement is an important focus. Because many people are saying that it is visible in terms of the direction. But I would like to ask Nanjo-san as well as Joy about the humanity aspect that remains unchanged, or it could be regarded as sensibility or values or culture. Functional augmentation can connect and continue to expand. But how will humans evaluate this? Maybe some people will say not much has changed, but there are also other people who have high expectations with change for culture as well by the introduction of technology. Can you elaborate this point? Kitano-san talked about layers. I agree. There are layers. For example, the country from the Jomon era remains unchanged. But there is also the superficial layers that change very quickly. In Harajuku, people used to walk around in punk fashion. And they were having altercations. But it seems that but fashion is punk, but inside is remaining the same for this individual. So same for technology. It could be core technology or it could be superficial technology. We have to try. It's co-evolution. Culture and technology are evolving together. For example, in vitro fertilization, Time magazine said that this is like creating Frankenstein. But now you can get a reimbursement from insurance for in vitro fertilization. And people feel comfortable having babies this way now. But that was not the case in the past. Eugenics is another good case in point. And some people are saying that this will decide the intelligence of humans, but the acceptance of these technologies have changed over time. This is also based on a complex system. I think it's a trial and error because, and Roche-san was very interesting because he said that he will show it first and there will be a response. And there is also a response to unused technology. And there is also a response to prevailing technology such as smartphones. We started off with a pager, and we have evolved to smartphones. There are some areas that will continue to evolve naturally, and some requiring human intervention.
What is interesting is that the technology will born and disappear, and what will take root and what disappears. Well, that's interesting. For example, smartphones and the mobile devices, we have our communication capabilities, and it actually augments our communication capabilities. It is augmentation. So in the society and in our activities, it is integrated into our life as the symbiotic way. So the artificial insemination, for example, fertilization, well, 3% or 4% of the newborn babies in Japan is a proportion of the babies born out of the fertilization, artificial fertilization, and IPS, well, the sperm and the eggs, they can be used, and the pinpoint way we can modify the genes. So designer babies are now possible. Well, it is already featured in the movies, but actually it is the realistic technology which is available today. So the question is how available it is, and also at what cost. And this is a trend we are not able to stop. So by using these technologies, well, the genetically modified people, human beings, maybe they may account for 1 to 2% of the population, 30 years from now, for example. Then that changes the values we have, right? Yes. So the genome part, it doesn't change, as I mentioned. However, we can also modify and change the genetic part of our human beings. Well, it may result in a really messy manner, but artificially, gradually, we can do that. So the clone itself is very difficult. Well, we have several backups. We have 10 children, for example, but we change the way we raise the child, and we identify which is the better way to raise a baby into a human beings, and then we will be able to establish the best way to have a clone. So you want to make a lot of joy clones in the future?
So we have to consider what makes us happy, and there is a possibility of designing that. Gene characteristic could pursue a specific type of living, and this could become prevalent in society. So in that regard, the criteria for happiness is going to be very important. And if the babies are designed, then it will be based on the preference of the parent. The parent will be dictating the happiness for that child. We are going to divide into 2 areas as well as 3 areas. So inclusive of myself, I have a request to the moderators. When we talk about augmentation, we tend to engage in discussions within the confines of a common sense, but I think we have to transcend that boundary. Since we have such a wonderful members, I think we have to do more. I have a request to the augmentation team. Some people, well, government funding is provided to overcome disabilities, and in the area of augmentation. But in the United States, the augmentation is not mentioned because it is a matter of ethics, and they talk about normalization. But all the scientists in reality are looking toward augmentation. But in Japan, people feel free to discuss augmentation. In the United States, we are trying to discuss what rules should dictate augmentation, inclusive of ethics. I think there should be a public discourse on this topic, but currently it's hidden by scientists. I think we have to put it out in the open and engage in discussions. Here, it might be difficult to write this down, but I think we have to transcend the boundaries. But when you talk about technologies, there are pros and cons. There are good and bad, because it's after all a tool, so it could be good or bad depending on the use. But we want to grow the beneficial aspects. Then how can this be achieved? Is it culture? The non-technical area should be a focus to bring to bear wisdom. I think you have to be very careful here. It's related to happiness. Happiness for whom? In what scale? Time scale should we consider that? For nature, maybe without humans is better. For Japanese people, is it good for everyone, or is it good for 1 million clones? Is it good for robots? So the perspective is very important. Engineers are discussing as if all the definitions have been laid down, but that is not the case. That is the reason why artists must be involved, because artists can put forth questions. What is the criteria of happiness is something that artists can remind us of, because there is no uniform definition.
And if it is good in a common-sensical manner, well, the discussion may turn out to be very flat and uninteresting, and imposing certain value to certain. Well, Michael Sandel, he talked about the justice. So that was the title of the book. And reading the book, well, actually the justice was not defined according to his book, because it is difficult to define it. Then what's going to be the criteria? Well, I think it is the aesthetics. Finally, ultimately. Well, this is not the shallow discussion. This is what I really want to mean. So instinctively, what is good? So there is no logic behind it, and we are not able to arrive at the right answer. Then, if it is the aesthetics, then it is rooted to something basic about the human beings. Yes. Well, there are certain researches, and even if it is the engineering, well, something appears ugly. I don't know. We don't know for sure what is ugly or not. Engineers, well, oftentimes the mathematicians, they use the word elegant, and the elegance is not defined. However, they use that term very frequently. Design. What is interesting is design and the aesthetics. Engineering schools, they want to exclude this the notion from engineering. However, ultimately, we have to arrive at the aesthetics. Otherwise, we are not able to define anything. So I think it is a very important viewpoint. Whether it is technology and science, artistic sense is important, and also the value associated with the aesthetics is also important. Even in the science and technology field, I believe that they have that shared understanding, I believe.
ということで、
Thank you very much. We've had a good opening. We have talked about the objectives for the afternoon session. So the intention of design has been shared, but we don't know what is going to be brought about. But I hope that you will put forth all your views to these moderators, and we can share the information that was presented. I'm sure that it is going to be a lovely session in all of the discussions that will take place. This is the first time we're doing this, but please make sure and follow the instructions in going to the right sessions. Thank you.
モデレーターの皆さん